Hey everybody, it's Max J. Miller, co-author with Robert Hollis of the upcoming How Is That Working? The last few days, I've gone through an interesting emotional space, and I feel that it's important to share this part of the story and this experience. A couple of months ago, I read a section from my original book, How Do You Know That? And it was from the chapter called Stay or Go. Do I stay or do I go now? And it's about the decision a hero makes to take that leap of faith and go off in a new direction. And the fact of the matter is, what you are confronting and dealing with, what I am confronting and dealing with this very moment, what I'm very present to, is, what are my friends, my once friends, people that I've known through my life, people that I've worked with at Imagineering and my theater company, and people that I respect, who I think have respected me. What do they think of me going this new direction and promoting this whole new idea about entrepreneurship? And it's funny because what's at stake is reputation. What the concern is, the little voice in my head is raising is, what will people think? What are they thinking? And that's where the rubber meets the road. When we really boil it all down, taking risks, that is stepping outside of the familiar and going and doing something completely new, really comes down to this. Am I risking alienating the people I know and care about me? Because when you do go off in a new direction, inevitably people question it. Why are you leaving the pack? Why are you doing something different? If working in a corporate environment is working for us, what's all this fuss about new ways of doing business and so forth? I mean, why not leave good enough alone and so forth? But, this is what happens when somebody hears a calling, when somebody sees something happening and hears a rustling of the winds of change. They're going to have to leave the pack. They're going to have to step out of the boundaries of the comfortable and familiar. And it's funny, I've written about it, I've talked about it. It's a pattern that you can see in the hero stories of history and antiquity. Right there, confronts your, but in the abstract, it's a lot easier to handle. In real life, what you're dealing with is, what do my friends think of me? Are they going to think less of me? Am I going to lose my status in the community as a result of, this kind of radical new thinking and way of looking at things? But the fact of the matter is, the great changes in culture have always come from people who've stepped outside of the pack, who've taken that risk. Those are the people that have brought all of the adaptation. As we've said many times, the changes in cultures and societies go through 3 stages. The first one is the ridicule. People go, why do you want to do that? Why would you want to start your own business and do that? Those things. Why would you want to join one of those training organizations? Those things are just scam. They just want your money and so forth. This is ridicule. It's the first stage. Now, some things are certainly worth ridiculing. There's no doubt about that. But it's a knee-jerk reaction. And so, somebody sees the world changing. The world of work is changing right now. That's how I see it. The world, we're decrying, there haven't been as many jobs. Corporations aren't creating jobs. Well, no, they're not. They're not creating jobs. They're doing business a whole new way. They're outsourcing. They're outsourcing more and more every year. It's all changing. The world of work is transforming. It will never be the same again. But some people are just going to stick their heads in the sand and say, well, but I can still extend my resumes out and I will never be laid off and, this won't happen to me. Well, that's their choice. But some people are going to be the innovators and some people are going to be left behind when the change is accomplished. So it goes through those three stages: ridicule, opposition, violent opposition in some cases, and in the third case, people go, well, everybody could see that happening. That change was obvious. Well, that's after it's obvious. Unfortunately, a lot of pain and suffering happens during that transition period for those who didn't pay attention to it. And that's just the way it is. That's just the way transitions happen. So I had written in this chapter, the fourth chapter of my original book, that my friend Robert, that I've written this other book for and about, he says, you want to know what people think of you? He says, what will people think if you fail in business? You really wouldn't care what people think about you if you realized how seldom they think of you. And that really hits me, as I'm really present to the feeling, the experience of alienation, of I'm stepping out and I'm not getting feedback from some people that I thought were with me. They've just sort of fallen by the wayside and disappeared. And I think, are they judging me? Are they questioning me? Do they think I've gone off the deep end? Well, it's what the experience is, and it, like I say, intellectually I know this. I'm a student of the great stories, the hero stories. I'm familiar with the literature. It's still not the same as actually experiencing it. We have, as human beings, a naturally tribal people. We have a primal fear of separation. We don't want to be left out. You can't survive really outside of the pack. Yes, we have all these great stories of individuals who have, survived out in the wilderness, but essentially human beings are a tribal, species. We cling together, we're interdependent with one another. So it's deep in our DNA and in our mental wiring to stay connected to the pack. So someone stepping out of it is doing so out of a deep sense that the survival of the pack depends on somebody taking that risk and stepping out. So in my book I quote the great Joseph Campbell, the mythologist, who says exile, this sense of exile, is the first step of the quest. The person has to always, unfortunately, but in reality, feel this sense of exile, this sense of being shunned a bit. And that's what I'm actually experiencing. That's what I'm feeling. Now, that's just my subjective experience but that's what story is. It's all subjective. It's how you feel about it and what you're thinking today. That's the story that you're living in. So the context for me is, I'm building this bridge to the future. I'm going to continue to learn and share what I learn about this new way of doing business, this very networked, connected, social way of doing business, and sharing what you're learning along the way. And I'm saying yes to it. I quoted in my book that wonderful poem, Yes, by E.E. Cummings. He says, yes is a world, and in that world of yes live skillfully curled all worlds. The future is in yes. The future is in let's risk it, let's try, let's make it happen. Like Jake LaMotta says, if you win in a Raging Bull, actually the trainer I think says it, but So risk, because if you lose, if you win, you win, and if you lose, you win. Because you're yourself. You're being true to yourself and to your convictions and your belief. And was that Burgess Meredith, or was he was the one that was the coaching Rocky? I can't remember who that actor was in Raging Bull. But anyway, so that's what I wanted to share with you. I wanted to really be authentic and share with you the honest, heartfelt experience of being in that sort of exile space where you risk. Now, the flip side of it, I think I'll share with you tomorrow, is that you make new friends. There are new alliances and relationships always on the hero's journey, and it makes the path and the process so rich. I've already begun to experience those. You think of your great adventure films. I always harken back to Star Wars, and they're just announcing that Disney's going to make new Star Wars films, having bought the franchise from George Lucas. But you think of those characters, and the hero, Luke Skywalker, leaves his home when his foster aunt and uncle are killed by the evil empire, and but as soon as he departs, he finds these other people who become his new family. I guess literally. I guess he marries Leia eventually. I guess that's where some of these new stories are going. But these new compatriots become partners and literally family. And that's what there is to look forward to, because it's creating a new world. The hero steps out of an old world to discover and then actually create a new world out of his old world, or her old world. So that's what we're up to. Thanks for listening. Thanks for interacting with me. I look forward to further interaction with you. Keep telling your story. Bye-bye for now.